Now she's recording.
Slay.
Hello. There we are. There she is. Okay. Me. Oh, I need to find my notes.
Your newts.
My
Newt.
notes. That sounds really gross. Okay. Welcome to Homocide, the podcast. Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are back.
I know it's been quite some time.
It's been a long time. And we also have our just lovely friend and producer, Anna, here.
Hi.
Anna, how are you? How have you been?
Right, the gang's
I am
back
good.
together.
I know. It's crazy. It's been so long.
It has been a really long time. Sorry that we have been absent. We've been, well, there's just no excuse. So, hi. Yeah, we're
Life.
back.
Life.
Just
Life.
life.
happens.
Yeah.
A lot of life happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about what's new because we can do a little download. But first and foremost, let's talk about what our stories are about today, Brandon. What is happening?
What?
Okay, so this episode is on group killings,
Oh yeah,
Our favorite.
right?
So-
So a group of people who have murdered
yeah.
together.
So the episode is titled "Girl, I Ain't No Groupie."
Oh, I forgot you had a title.
I did. Well, that's
We
not
don't
my
share
title.
notes, though.
That's the title of the show.
No, I know. I didn't know. I forgot
Well,
we had a title
yeah.
of the show.
Oh, well, now you remember.
Thank
but
you
what's
so
your,
much.
how would you describe your story?
Mine could be disguided.
Disguided.
We're back.
It's already started. It hasn't even been like 5 minutes.
I know.
Mine could be described or titled, because that's what I did.
Oh,
A Christmas killing spree. Because the story was supposed to be for a Christmas story that never happened.
That one that did not happen. I do remember, and I didn't have a story, so you did.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game. Look
I know.
at you.
Yeah, I wrote this episode quite some time ago.
Months
So
ago.
this is, for my story, is going to be a little bit of a surprise for me as well.
Well, that means you'll have some more flubs than normal.
I sure will.
Super excited
So,
about that.
what's your episode title?
Well, my title is different from the
Your story.
description. Mine can be described as 7 brutal murders in the Hollywood Hills. I know. I know. Do you want to know my title? Or should we wait for that? Should that be a surprise?
Let's have that be a surprise.
Okay, cool. Well, obviously we're back in New York City now it's like mid-July. We've been here for quite some time. But Anna, what's up with your life? What's new? Tell us everything.
Well, I just got off of jury duty for a very intense case.
So exciting.
We'll be able to interview you soon about, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't give
Like, in a
away
way.
too much information, but
Okay.
yes.
But
We could do a
like-
little deep dive.
I
whatever
can
is-
should I
a little
say what it
medium
was?
dive.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's do.
yeah.
I mean, let's just do it now.
No, let's just, well, kind of. Maybe, I don't know. Tell us.
Not
Okay,
indecisive
so
at all.
it was a homicide trial, and the verdict was not guilty.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, if you're going to be on a jury,
Yeah.
that's a great one.
Oh,
I would say
yeah.
to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would,
It was like
yeah.
a really mixed bag of some days were unbearably boring, and then some days I was like, oh, this is like a courtroom drama. Like some
Really?
things that happened, I was like, wait.
Like
this is
plays
actually
out like it does
crazy.
on TV.
Yeah, I mean, like the opening and closing statements that the attorneys make are so dramatic. Like,
Of course.
Oh my God,
they
I
are
love that.
literally like actors up there.
Yeah.
Like they memorize
create
the whole
their own
monologue.
monologue, yeah.
And they're like expressing emotion. They're emoting, and then they're like, objection.
I object.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. And not guilty.
Yeah.
That is
They did not give
amazing.
enough evidence. They
Well.
they failed.
Yeah. Was it mostly circumstantial?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was honestly the only piece of evidence they had was surveillance video that
Yeah.
was way too blurry for us to tell that
You
it was
could
the
even
same
make it
guy. Like you could make him out at the beginning of the video, but then like the middle where the incident happened,
Yeah.
it was so blurry that it was like, yeah,
No.
I can't make the like we can't say that that's who it is, and that's like the only evidence you really have.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
That's really interesting. I was not expecting you to say that it was not guilty.
I was happy
I
that it
know.
was not guilty because the idea of sending someone to prison does make
Oh.
me uncomfortable. Unless
totally.
it's like
I could only
100,000%
Totally.
they did
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and I
Beyond
think
a
they're a
reasonable
murderer
doubt.
and all of
Yeah.
beyond a
Yeah.
reasonable doubt. But it was heartwarming when the verdict was said. Like his whole family was crying and he was crying, and even once we walked out, the attorneys were crying. So they obviously like really believed in his innocence.
Sure.
So
Wow. What else is new? How's your podcast doing?
My podcast is doing well.
Yay.
I am sort of getting to the point now where it's like, oh my God, it's the middle of summer, and in order to record, I have to turn off my AC. So that's really hard for me. But I've been going, 14 weeks strong?
Oh my God.
awesome.
14
Yeah,
weeks.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I love that. Well, Brandon, what's new with you?
Man, I hate that question because I never know.
I know.
But I mean, a lot has gone on since we've been on the podcast last. We've moved apartments. We've had a lot of business things happen. We've just got COVID. Like, there's been a lot.
That was fun.
Had to watch TV and see Trump almost get shot, and then all the backlash from that. So, like, there's been a decent amount of stuff
There's just
happening.
been a lot of news.
Right? We got called cocksuckers the other day walking down the street.
Oh my God.
Right? Like,
It was fun.
just life. We're just
Hate
living.
crimes. You know?
Yeah. I was like, well, he's not wrong.
I know. I made a post about it. You saw it.
You did.
But
When
at
you
the-
just say a fact.
Yeah,
right. I
like,
said it.
thank you.
I had this little speech thing. It wasn't that long, but at the end I was like, at least be creative, right? Don't call me what I am. Like, yes,
Like, do
and
something better
Right.
than that.
be more offended
Yeah.
if you said I went down on a woman, like not
Yeah.
a cocksucker. Like,
You vagina. I don't. What happens there? I don't know. Yeah. What?
You vagina.
I don't. Yeah.
I
What
almost
do
said
you
you
do?
vagina liquor, and I'm like, that's so juvenile.
I mean, so is cocksucker.
It is.
Jesus.
And it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. Really. But that would be very offensive. I do not like vaginas.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
really,
Kevin.
really interesting. Yeah.
What's new with you? Since you always say don't ask.
Don't ask, don't tell. I don't know what's new. Oh my God, the TV show that I am in is coming out soon.
Yes.
Finally, we filmed
In,
it
like,
2
a
years
month.
ago. Yeah, so it's Bad Monkey on Apple TV. I'm in episode 5. I mean, I filmed for episode 5. We'll see if I'm in it. You just never know. But
No, he's afraid they're gonna
I
cut
don't
him out.
know. You know, I mean, it
You
drives.
never
You'll be in it.
It drives the episode a
It
little
does.
bit, but
Yeah.
but we'll see. Yeah, but I'm super excited that it actually has an air date and coming out. So yeah, go tune into Apple TV and watch the whole season of Bad Monkey because I think it's going to be really
Yay.
good. And there's
Yep.
a lot of local Southeast talent, specifically in Florida, that joined that, which is pretty cool. So
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
really
Yeah.
exciting.
thank
excited.
you so much. Yeah, now I
Yeah.
just need to land something else. Which,
Well, I mean, since
know.
we've been on the podcast I think you hadn't gotten a new agent yet, which you have a new agent now, which is exciting.
Yeah,
And
got a
you've-
new agent.
He's actually has gotten quite a bit of auditions in the
repped
last
in Atlanta, so
couple-
which is exciting.
in like the
Wow.
last month compared to what he did in the last couple of years with
Yeah.
the other
That's
agents. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
So that's exciting. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of auditions, which is fantastic. But I have not, booked it quite yet. But the same casting directors are seeing me multiple times, which is a great thing.
Yeah, that's
So,
really good.
Thank you if you listen. Yeah. So, and then the last thing that's not new, but it's very important that everyone is registered to vote.
Yes.
So I do want to make a little note here that go check your voter registration. Just go to vote.org and check your registration status and just make sure that you are
Status.
registered to vote and voting. And please vote. You can also vote, but vote blue. That's my
Right.
plug.
That's my plug.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's good for updates. And then, as always, first off, if you're watching on YouTube, go like this video. Just go give it a little thumbs up. Make it cute. And if you're not and you're listening, just go give us a review and a rating. Thank you so much.
You can leave comments on Spotify now.
Can you really?
Can you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Leave a comment.
We've been out of the game for so long.
We
Kevin.
have. Oh my God, everything's so different now.
Nobody's doing it.
whole new
because
world.
nobody really knows that it
Yeah.
exists. But,
But they will do it.
you'll do it.
I love that though because
This
it
is a
gives
threat.
right. It gives it adds some like personality to the page too when
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
commenting and whatnot. So
Yeah, I agree.
and plus it's fun to read when we get a new one, even on Apple, to be like,
Right.
oh my God, look at this.
I know we haven't gotten a new one in a while.
We haven't, but
So
we hadn't been on our YouTube for quite some time, and we realized we missed some comments, and there were some like really fun comments in
there
there.
was, yeah. And that channel's actually been growing slightly, which is
Right. And we
even
haven't done
without us
anything.
posting, so thank you. But yeah, I'm excited we have lots of fun, juicy things coming up. So we're not going anywhere now. So thank you so much. And Anna, we're all back. So
Yes.
Woohoo!
with that said, who's going first today?
I think we said me. I think we're switching it up and going to me.
Okay.
My story is a little bit shorter, and I'm excited for yours because yours is a lengthy one.
There's an ambulance
There is.
or fire truck. there maybe are firefighters
Stop.
in there. Just kidding. Okay. Anyway, all right, Brandon. Well, why don't we dive into
Let's dive right
your
in.
episode?
I feel like we say that every time. Let's dive right in.
Dive right in.
Dive
That's
in.
like a Kevinism, I think.
It
right?
definitely is a Kevinism.
Tef. What were you gonna say?
It definitely is.
Definitely is a
Shut up.
Kevinism. Wasn't there a day where you were like, let's talk about your Kevinisms, and you were kind of a dick about it?
I wasn't a dick. I was just telling you all the things that are very new.
Yeah.
Are
unique
daddy and
to
daddy
you.
going to get divorced?
Maybe.
No, there was one day that Brandon was like,
I don't remember what happened.
I joked about like he did something, and I'm like, that's such a Kevinism. Like that's such something that you do. Like it's very much you.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be like, these are all the things that I love that you do that are just you. And he's like, well, what are the other ones? And he started getting like offended. I was like, well, there's this, and there's that, and there's
first
this.
off-
Oh my God.
And then you were like, well, fine.
First off, it was all in humor, and we were drinking wine at a bar. I think. I don't know. We were drunk, but
We were definitely not sober.
no. But it was cute. But it was a cute one. It was a cute moment because we've had those moments where I'm like, I need to leave because you've pissed me off. Or whatever. But this one was not that. It was a very kind of fun thing. But Brandon just went down a list of like the things that he thinks are my Kevinisms, which actually sounded a little offensive. And I was like,
It was cute. It
I was
was
like,
all the
am I
things that I
this
loved.
horrible? But it was kind of funny. It was cute.
Yeah. Well,
You
you
should-
asked.
You should go through them at our anniversary party.
Yeah,
Along
I
with the
love those
list.
conversations because it just means that someone's paying attention
I
to you.
agree.
Yeah. I also have a list of all of the weird shit Kevin says to me. Oh my God. And sometimes I forget to add it, but I think I'm up to like number 35. So maybe one episode I'll just like read off a few of them.
Yeah, bonus app.
You actually should do that.
They're really funny.
They're pretty funny, but embarrassing for me because I speak like that. So,
Yes.
oh well. Wow, the air just went off and it cleared.
It did. We
really
don't
weird.
turn off our
We
air
do not
conditioning.
turn off the
Sorry,
air
guys.
conditioning.
You have to deal with the noise.
No.
Well, you guys have central air. It's a little
We do-
different.
That's true.
Is it a window unit at yours?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, those are loud as fuck.
Yeah, it's unbearable.
God. All right. Well, that was our first tangent. You're welcome.
All right.
Shall we?
Now let's actually dive right in.
All right. You dive into that. Okay, go. Go.
So my episode today is about the Downtown Posse.
Ooh.
Yeah, they had
I just see them like going down an alleyway, snapping their fingers.
like West Side Story.
Yeah.
Like Outsiders meets West Side
Right.
Story meets Jersey Boys.
Meets Jersey Boys. Yeah. So this is a story. Again, I wrote it quite some time ago. I have not reviewed it. I was going to, but then I was like, this will be fun. And this is again a Christmas episode. So this is like a summertime Christmas vibe.
Christmas in July.
Right.
Isn't that a thing?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
right?
You're
Okay.
welcome. I did that purposefully.
There we go.
All right, cool. So on December 1992, not on December, in December 1992. See, I'm starting off strong. In Dayton, Ohio, started off as any normal Christmas holiday. Trees were adorned with ornaments. The streets were covered in lights. People were shopping for their loved ones, and the Christmas spirit was all around.
Oh, I love that.
However, coming up to Christmas Eve, no one would have guessed what was to come. Around 10 p.m. on December 24th, the Dayton police office got a call about a shooting right outside a phone booth in southwest Dayton. When they arrived on the scene, they saw the body of a young black girl lying on the ground with 5 gunshot wounds to her chest, legs, and on her hand. Identified by the school books she had in her backpack beside her, the police were able to confirm the body of 18-year-old mother of one, Danita Gillette.
18.
Yeah. Little did police know Danita was the second person killed that evening, and this would be the start of a 3-day killing spree, leaving 6 people dead, 2 injured, and a community in distress because of the self-proclaimed Downtown Posse.
Wow. This was in 1992?
Yeah. Yep. So the Downtown Posse in all of its glory was a 4-person gang that resided obviously in Dayton, Ohio. I don't know. I added that in there twice.
It's very important.
It was. It's very important that this is in Dayton, Ohio. The group consisted.
Remember that.
It's an aggressive look.
There's going to be a test after this.
Oh.
The group consisted of 19-year-old Marvelous Keene, and I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Laura Taylor, who was 16. She was Marvelous's girlfriend. DeMarcus Smith, who was 19. And DeMarcus's girlfriend, Heather Matthews, age 20. All members were believed to be on their own and estranged from their own families, which helped them become close as a group, who would spend most of their time hanging out, bumming money for people on Courthouse Square, again in Dayton. I don't know why.
Just in case you are not familiar.
Like, I literally wrote Dayton in here so many times.
This takes place in Dayton, Ohio.
I just really want to grow our viewership in Dayton.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
okay. So next I have is So What Happened. So on December 24th, 1992, Laura and Marvellis devised a plan to make some cash. Deciding to lure a man with the promise of an orgy for money, Laura called 34-year-old Joseph Wilkerson. Oh my God, this is going to be really difficult. I haven't done this. I'm out of practice.
I'm enjoying this.
I know, you're welcome.
This is a Brandonism.
It totally is. You're welcome.
It is 100%.
What else? I'm just kidding.
You're so cute. Shut up. Go.
Paired with Heather, the two tried to charm him into thinking they would sleep with him, which worked, and the three of them went to his house. As soon as they arrived, Joseph was quickly bound to the headboard of his bed with electrical cords.
Oh, God.
Then the ladies and Marvellis, along with a 25 caliber pistol with what they called blazer ammo, which is apparently not a type of ammo you would typically use. You wouldn't typically see people using in killings because they're aluminum shell casings used for target practice. And so then they scoured the house for valuables. I wrote this so odd. Anyways, as they looked for anything they could take, Laura was pleased when she found Joseph's 32 caliber Derringer,
I think.
whatever. I'm gay.
I'm not.
Pistol. So a pistol in that Marvellis eventually uses to shoot Joseph. Oh my lord!
Oh my God.
I am doing really bad right now. Anyways. Whew.
Let's just be clear that he said Joseph. He was not saying or implying anything. Okay, thank you.
Joseph.
Almost did it again.
Joseph.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Where was I? Okay. So Marvellis eventually uses to shoot Joseph in the chest. Then, for some reason, I can only imagine making sure it was official. Laura took their 25 caliber pistol and shot Joseph in the head one more time, killing him in cold blood.
Wow.
Yeah. So then they finished the rest of their robbery by stealing Joseph's car. From here, it's like the group must have gotten some high off of the incident because they didn't stop. Picking up DeMarcus, they continue to drive around, eventually driving by Danita, talking on a payphone in Southwest Dayton. Why did I do that? That's so funny.
It's very, very important.
It is. It's like my mind told me don't even say that part, but I just need to read it. As a senior at Patterson Cooperative High School, no one in the group knew who she was. However, it was noted in one account that someone in the group liked her Fila shoes, which were missing from her body, along with a noticeable missing jacket. After the group killed Danita, they decided to head back to Joseph's home and take it easy the rest of the evening.
Oh, yeah. It's
They
exhausting killing people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have as if they killed him to use his house as home base, using it as a place to party and celebrate.
Well,
with
his body is just there?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
So, however, before they made it back to Joseph's house, they decided to make one last stop, heading towards 157 Yuma Place. They decided
In Dayton?
They decided the next victim would be 28-year-old Jeffrey Wright, Heather's ex-boyfriend, who happened to be outside of his house when they arrived. Grabbing the gun, DeMarcus ended up shooting Jeffrey 4 times, hitting him in his legs. However, Jeffrey was able to get away and was able to make it to a neighbor's house.
Wow.
Yeah. So then on Christmas Day, the group was ready to get back to it. So deciding their next victim, Laura contacted her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old Richmond Maddox. Leaving his parents' house, the two jumped into Richmond's car and took off. What Richmond didn't know was right behind them was the rest of the Downtown Posse trailing them in Joseph's car.
Jeez.
Eventually, however, Richmond could tell something was wrong. Getting suspicious of the car following them, he stepped on the gas. As he did, Laura grabbed the 25 caliber pistol, put it up to his right temple, and fired the gun.
As he was driving?
As he was fully pressing his foot down on the gas. So, Yeah, so
That's a great idea.
exactly right. Quickly, she opened up the door and jumped out of the car before the car crashed into a tree. Oh. Yeah. And there's like photos of it, and it's actually really, it's terrible. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
Then on December 26th, the group was still not finished. Walking into the short stop mini market, Marvellis and DeMarcus had all intentions to rob the family-owned grocery store. So walking in, they demanded money from the 38-year-old mother of three, store clerk Sarah Abraham, to which she complied. The two decided they would still use the time to shoot Sarah in the face 2 times before turning and shooting Jonas Pettus, Pettus?
I think it's a Jones.
Jonas, I can't read. Jones, yes, in the stomach, who was a customer in the store. Lucky for Jones, he survived. However, Sarah died from her injuries 5 days later. So by this point, no one in the community or in the police department knew who was involved in the murders, especially because it seemed to be very random. When the police first heard of the murder of Danita, they had no idea what was in store for them. And the order in which I told the murders is not how they actually learned of them. So first, it was just the first murder of Danita on Christmas Eve. Then they learned of the murder of Richmond on Christmas, following the incident at the mini market. And at this point, the police had no idea of the first murder of Joseph yet. At first, the police didn't have too much to go off of. They knew the murders were linked because of the odd ammo that was used for each of the murders, along with a witness account of a young black woman someone saw jumping out of a moving car before it crashed into the tree that night. So somebody actually saw her jump out of the car.
Wow.
Yeah. The murders before the mini market were pretty isolated, so they didn't have much to go off of. However, because there was a witness to the last shooting, the police finally had something to work with because they saw the car.
Yeah.
So first, when the officers got to the scene of the mini market, they questioned 71-year-old part-time store clerk Jimmy Thompson, who survived the shooting by pretending to be dead. In this questioning, they learned that right before the incident, a young black woman came into the store to make a purchase who was a nickel short, in which he decided to give her a nickel so she would make her purchase. Jimmy then said immediately after she left, 2 black men walked in with handguns demanding money, in which he said how Sarah complied and they started to shoot everybody anyways. So shortly after the incident, the police got a 911 call from a woman stating that she was just a part of a armed carjacking in the same neighborhood. She told the police that she was filling her tires with air when 2 men, both with guns, walked up to her and apparently told her, "You will die today." She freaked out. She took off with the sounds of gunshots behind her.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and luckily enough for her, she was not injured. However, they took off with her Dodge Shadow. It sounds, when I read that, it made myself think dog Shadow, like a dog named Shadow. I don't know why I even
Homeward
heard that.
Bound.
So a Dodge
Right?
car named Shadow.
Homeward Bound. Wasn't there a dog named Shadow? Yes.
I don't remember, but
No.
probably.
Well,
I don't know.
Idea.
I think so.
It's been a while.
It was a trauma moment. The Homeward Bound. Those movies were trauma.
They were very traumatic.
They were also really good.
They were.
Yeah. Shadow. So this is a Dodge Shadow.
Yes, a Dodge Shadow.
Which is not
so
a dog.
this gave
Okay.
the police another lead. So anxious to stop the murders, the police started to scouring Dayton for.
Police started to scouring
Dayton.
Dayton.
I don't know how I read this.
Dayton.
I should
Just in
have
case.
reread this before.
No, I love that. I love that you did.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So they started to look for the newly acquired Dodge Shadow. So pretty quickly, a Dodge Shadow was found. I could just say the car. I just don't know.
You're cute. Just keep going.
You're welcome. So pretty quickly, they found a car matching the description. However, to the officer's surprise, the license plate didn't match. Then, as the officers were taking another look before he left, he noticed the license plate he was looking for on the car parked right in front of him.
Ah, they switched
Yeah.
the license plate.
So, looking up the license plate, the officer of the Dodge that was on the Dodge Shadow, the officer noticed the name of 34-year-old Joseph Wilkerson. Immediately, the police made their way to Joseph's home, and they noticed something was wrong immediately. The house looked ransacked, and there was a strong odor that took over. As they walked through the house, the smell only got stronger because obviously they went in to check. Yeah. As they hit the bedroom, they found Joseph's body tied to a bedpost with gunshot wounds in the same blazer casings that were at every other crime scene. So as the police were at Joseph's house, Sergeant John Huber, who saw the license plate difference, stayed with the cars to see if anyone would be coming back, which was obviously a great idea because he saw people making their way to the car. So confronting the trio, Sergeant Huber was able to detain Marvellis, Laura, and Heather, who had 2 guns in their possession. However, DeMarcus was able to get away. But unfortunately for him, he was quickly found in a nearby house and was also detained, and the 4 of them were brought in for questioning. So first, the police started with Laura. However, they didn't have any luck. Detective Doyle Burke, who questioned the group, was quoted in an article saying, "She never said a word. When I asked if she wanted to use the restroom, she stood and urinated on the floor and then sat back down." I forgot about that part.
What?
Yeah. He then said, It was going to be hard to get anything from her. So eventually the rest of the group started to talk, telling the police officers everything, how they tempted Joseph for sex, how they killed him, stole his car. They went on to talk about how they drove by Danita as she was on the payphone, then shot at Jeffrey, and then that they tailed Richmond and the Mini Mart incident. However, on December 27th, the police office received a call from somebody who just saw the bodies of 2 people in a gravel dump. So apparently, the 4 in the Downtown Posse had a couple other friends, 16-year-old Wendy Cortrell and 18-year-old Marvin Washington, who were friends of the group, at some point found out about what they were doing. Afraid that they would go to the police, the rest of the group knew that they had to do something. So they all got in a car and drove off together, eventually stopping with the guise of having to go to the bathroom from the beer and wine that they previously bought. They made a way to get the 2 girls. I'm sorry, it's a girl and a man. The 2 others to I don't know why that got me flustered for a second.
They made them get out of the car.
Yes, they made the 2 get out of the car.
Yep.
On a random gravel road, and then just shot them.
That's
dead.
fucked up.
Yeah. So in 1993, Heather, DeMarcus, and Laura were all sentenced to life in prison. Laura and Heather are serving at the Ohio Reformatory for Women in Marysville, and DeMarcus is serving at the Mansfield Correctional Institute. Marvellis, however, was found guilty of the 5 murders and was sentenced to lethal injection and was executed on July 21st, 2009 at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility in Lucasville.
Wow.
So interesting listening to this story now after doing the whole jury duty thing, because I'm just like, the standard of evidence, like the amount of sureness that the jury had to have that they did this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
especially
how hard it must be to gather all that evidence, especially like Dayton, Ohio doesn't have nearly as much like surveillance, know, that we have
and
here.
92.
For sure.
Yeah.
And especially for having to make the decision to put somebody on death row.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
That's
like
a big one.
You have to have a lot in there.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is the story of the Downtown Posse.
Wow.
Do you have some interesting facts you want to share?
I just have one.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to say it, but I'll just say it. I saw one article that said Laura tried to get excited and said, "Let's get some drama in our lives," as they were doing all of their acts.
All right.
Yeah.
And were all these like kids? Was this Downtown Posse kids?
Yeah, they were between 20 and 16. Marvellis was 19, Laura was 16, DeMarcus 19, Heather 20.
Like,
They were children.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was working at an ice cream store when I was 16.
Were they like exposed to too much lead? Right. You know, like what happened?
It was
there?
the lead.
It's
It
Dayton.
had to be the lead.
That's just crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's also scary because it's also random.
It is random.
I mean, some
It's-
of it wasn't because they knew them, but like,
yeah, but being on a payphone and getting shot and killed when you were literally a child who has a child living your life, minding your business, just getting shot.
Also, just the image of like someone just coming up to you and being like, "You're gonna die today,"
Yeah.
and pulling a gun. Like, oh my god, that's
yeah,
so
no.
funny.
like, bitch,
No.
I would run too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So glad she did. Wow. Well, goodness. All right.
Well, that's mine. Are you ready?
Merry Christmas in July.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you ready to dive
Yeah.
right in?
I'm ready to dive in. Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. So the title of my episode is 7 Murders by a Group of Feckin' Culty Psychos.
Feckin'.
Is this in
Feckin'.
Ireland?
No.
Oh, I thought by the way you said feckin'.
That was just
No,
for
that was
drama.
just for fun. Yeah. instead of saying fucking, I said feckin'.
Okay.
Is that Irish?
That's like the accent, right? Like
I don't know.
feckin' blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
maybe. Oh, well, dang. I am Irish, so that could maybe just came out.
Yeah, just
totally.
natural.
The history of my bloodline
100%.
came pouring out of me. Which my biological mom's name is Conley, so I'm related to the Conleys, which I guess is a big Irish. I don't fucking know. Anyway, I didn't grow up with any of my biological family, so it's all learned. Okay, here we go. So, it was the evening of August 8th, 1969, when a group of 4 drove from their cult compound on the Los Angeles County Ranch to 10050 CeeLo Drive in Beverly Hills. Upon arriving, the group, who had been directed by their cult leader to destroy everyone in the home as gruesome as you can, slowly crept onto the property, making their way through the brush and eventually gaining entry into the secluded property. What followed was absolute terror for the group of friends enjoying an evening together. So this is the story of the Manson family murders, who in total brutally murdered 9 people, but may have possibly murdered up to 35. I know.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. So the story's been told a lot, right, in general.
Yeah.
But I definitely learned some stuff in here that I did not know.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to do it to see if perhaps you would learn something too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for you to do like a big murder because we haven't done like a
Like a big one?
well-known kind
Yeah.
of one. So it's interesting to see. And I'm also like admittedly really awful with remembering details on things. So
Yeah, I actually
Yes.
don't really know much about this.
yeah, chances
is
are
interesting.
I've probably heard some of this, but I know there's gonna be a lot that I haven't. So I'm
Yeah, when I mean in 1969, like obviously none of us were born, in general. But even like parents, I don't speak about it much either, which is interesting. So,
as soon as you said 69, my mind went to that song, "The Summer of '69,"
back in the
'cause that
summer
came
of
out.
69, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because the summer of '69 was a very influential year.
Yes, but I think
Because the
that song
Stonewall
is from
riots
the
were in
80s,
'69, correct?
but, maybe.
I think so.
I would need to look that one up. A couple sources that I'd like to highlight because I did do some.
We're not totally bad
quoting.
gays. But yeah, no, 1969. The
Look
summer of
at
1969.
you. You got your homo sticker today.
Ding! Gold star.
So a couple of sources: crimemuseum.org, CNN, history.com, vox.com, and Britannica are where I got a lot of my information, which is interesting
Why did you say it so aggressive?
because I did.
Because it's you.
Yes. Is that a Kevinism?
yes, exactly.
My beard is rubbing on the fucking.
Another
microphone.
Kevinism. Pointing something out enough times to call it a Kevinism.
Like my breasts.
Yes,
Yeah.
you talking about your breasts is
I
a
do.
it's
Thank
a
you.
Kevinism.
I think
He's
the
super
Kevinism
self-conscious.
that I want to put forward is in general.
Yeah. And 100%. I say that a lot too.
I say that a lot, too.
So fucking annoying. Thank you for adding to that list.
You're welcome.
Love that. Okay. So the Manson family murders. Okay. So I won't go too much into Charles Manson, who was like the, creator.
Ringleader.
The ringleader.
He's terrifying.
Because I put in here he's a sick fuck and that he doesn't deserve any attention. But there are a few things that I do think are important to the story that I do want to share. So Charles Manson was born Charles Miles Maddox in 1934. So he was married twice and had at least 2 known children. Did not know that. So he was also a pimp and briefly married a sex worker.
oh.
I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. He wanted Hollywood fame so badly, but was also carefully studying religion as a tool of control.
Well, there you go.
So he
Of course.
specifically was
religion.
studying that. And I do want to highlight Project 2025 right now because that's something.
Because that's terrifying. This is
Talk
probably
about
as
religion.
terrifying as this is.
Yeah, religion as a tool of control. Project 2025.
Yeah.
Let's pause. Project 2025. Okay, go look it up.
Register to vote.
Yeah, blue. Okay, so he really liked Scientology and also sought...
Also, real quick, when we say vote blue, it doesn't mean that we think Joe Biden's the best candidate either. That's a good point to note.
Sure. but vote blue.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So Charles Manson really liked Scientology, which I thought was really interesting. He also sought the advice of career criminals who taught him techniques for successfully coercing and breaking down the resistance of women under his control. Ew. So according to the California Parole Board, he had a history of manipulation, controlling behavior, and mental illness, which included schizophrenia and paranoid delusional behavior. Yeah. Sounds like some people nowadays. So he was sent to a school for boys.
Project 2025.
Vote blue. Okay. So he was sent to a school for boys in Indiana for stealing. And over the next 20 years, he was in and out of reform schools and prison for crimes. So he was like he was a criminal from like birth.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
I couldn't imagine going to a reform school, though.
No. Oh my God.
No.
It just makes me think
Public
about
school was worse enough.
I liked school. Yeah. Okay, so Manson was a staunch.
But did you?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm too old now. Okay, so Manson was a staunch racist whose ultimate helter-skelter goal was to rule over Black America. So he was a lifelong white supremacist, did not know that, who had known associations to the Aryan Brotherhood. Do you guys know what the Aryan Brotherhood is?
No.
Okay. So the Aryan Brotherhood is a neo-Nazi prison gang and an organized crime syndicate that is based here in the U.S. Very much active.
Oh,
That's exciting.
So in 1967, after being released from prison, he moved to San Francisco, which is where he met a man named Gary Hinman.
It's interesting that he was in San Francisco
I agree.
with being this, in a sense, conservative, but
Well, there's a reason he went to San Francisco, and I'm going to explain it in a minute. But he met this guy, Gary Hinman, who was actually a music teacher who introduced him to Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. So he apparently attracted a group of followers by manipulating and exploiting the drug-happy, freewheeling hippie movement and moved them outside of Chatsworth, California, to a place called Spawn Ranch. So what's interesting is he moved to San Francisco to infiltrate the hippie movement, which was about like free love and sex and drugs and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
That's
and
how
he
was
did
able
have
to
that.
snag people.
He did have that slight vibe to him from like photos and stuff too.
Yeah,
that
he looked dirty. As fuck.
he probably was
Motherfucker
dirty.
He did not take showers for sure. So you know that deck stank. He probably gave so
Schmegma.
many women like fucking yeast infections. He's gross. Ugh. Okay, I know. Poor women. So anyway,
gagging.
Spawn Ranch was actually called Spawn Movie Ranch and was actually once used as a Hollywood TV and movie set for productions like Bonanza and The Long Ranger. So he moved his little compound of cult followers to an old movie set.
Oh, that's weird.
In the hills in California. Yeah. Which I did not know. So that property was actually owned by Gore. Well, maybe. Owned by a guy named George Spahn, who was an 81-year-old man. So the property was pretty run down.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you were saying that, I'm like, I feel like I remember it looking like photos of like a campsite. Like it looked disgusting.
It was really, really gross. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense if it was like built for a movie set for
like, they don't build that.
old westerny kind of
Correct.
things. Yeah, like
So creepy if you think about
really
it.
it's very creepy.
Just a rundown movie set with a bunch of murderers living on it.
Ugh,
Yeah.
God, dirty. Oh, God. So in exchange for
all
rent,
of them have yeast infections. Like
everyone's running around with yeast infections. Can't.
Ew.
Oh. Okay, so my mind went to bread. I'm not sure why.
yeast.
Yeast.
I know, but like, were people using their yeast infection yeast to make bread? No,
Oh
that's
my
disgusting.
god.
I know.
I'll just say that.
That's why I was like, why did my
I
mind just do
literally
that?
will throw up right now.
That was like the
Wow,
other day.
that is repulsive. That is so disgusting. I think that might be one of the most disgusting things you've said
I'm sorry.
on the podcast.
Forgive me. Ask for forgiveness. The other day when we were,
You want a loaf of bread? I made it myself. It gives a different.
my brand of yeast. I hate my life. Gross. Okay, anyway. Jesus. Okay, so.
I'm sorry. I totally took you off track of what you were saying, and now you
And
probably
you
don't
made me
remember
so
what you were
red
saying.
too. I can feel the heat.
I made you red.
I made myself red. Sometimes this is why, yeah, it's inappropriate. Like when we were on the meeting the other day and we had our two team members sitting back here and I was like, oh my God, we're not running a brothel.
Yeah, we had a
I was like, these
client
random
meeting.
people behind me are not, and I'm like, we're not running a brothel here. And I'm like, why did that come out?
It was like, why? We all
Why did
laughed.
that-
Luckily, it was a fun client, but like
Totally, but like,
why?
what? No.
Oh, you're a
God.
mess.
Okay, anyway. So back to the property with Mr. 81-year-old George. So in exchange for rent of this rundown property, Manson and the followers would like work on the ranch. And so what they would do, they would clean, cook and make repairs and take care of the horses, including renting them out to tourists. So like tourists were going there and riding these fucking cult horses. Well, the
horses.
The horses weren't culty.
Yes, the horses.
They were part of a cult.
They were part of a cult. So what's interesting about it is that the isolation of this ranch and the fact that there were no books, clocks, or even calendars there added to the paranoia and the fear of the women that lived there. So it was mostly women.
Yeah.
With this dude, Charles Manson. So Dennis Wilson introduces Manson to a record producer. So remember, Dennis Wilson was who he met from the Beach Boys. So he actually introduces him to a record producer named Terry Melcher, who was the son of actress Doris Day. So Terry, who was the music producer, lived at 10050 CeeLo Drive, which is the address I mentioned above, which is where they initially met. So I said, take note of that address, which is the same one that I said above when he like ordered people to. Okay. So
it's not in Dayton, Ohio.
It's not in Dayton, Ohio. No, we are far from Ohio. And I'm not going to say it 8,000 times. 10050 CeeLo Drive.
Thank you. Got it.
No. So what's interesting is that I did not know this. Charles Manson wanted to be a singer, like badly. And he also wanted to be really famous.
Oh, well, of
So
course.
that's why he was like doing this weird route, right? As he's studying religion and trying to control women and all this shit. So,
Cool guy.
I know. So Terry Melcher, who was that record producer, Doris Day's son, showed an initial interest in Manson, but eventually declined working with him. So Manson then started threatening to kill Melcher. So his mom, Doris Day, is actually who convinced Melcher to move out of the house on CeeLo Drive. And then at that time, the home was then leased to film director Roman Polanski and his wife, actress Sharon Tate. So most people know Sharon Tate in general. Do you know
Yeah.
Sharon Tate?
No.
Okay. Most
Sorry.
people, minus Anna.
Sorry, everybody.
You will know Shannon now. So Manson knew that Melcher had moved out of the home.
You just said Shannon. Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
I was like,
Not
you'll know
Shannon.
Shannon. Who's Shannon?
Sharon Tate. Yeah. Oh, Sharon. Okay. Manson knew that Melcher had moved out of the home in general.
Oh,
but
I was going to say, was he trying to get him or did he not know? But he did know.
No, yeah, but for some reason, the house had become a representation of everything that he had been denied by the Hollywood,
Of
by the
course.
industry, right?
Like,
So
get over it.
I know. So in addition to this, Manson wanted to jumpstart what he believed was a coming race war between the government and black citizens, which was mostly focused on the Black Panthers.
I feel like
who
there's a lot of
apparently-
correlation to some things happening today.
Yeah.
So he really hated the Black Panthers. So he called this jump start or movement Helter Skelter, which I'll jump into. So Helter Skelter is a song by the Beatles. It's a song on the Beatles' White Album, which was an innocent song that was used to as a symbol of a playground slide and was used as a metaphor. So he used it. The metaphor was basically used as like describing a ride from the top to the bottom, like the rise and fall of the Roman Empire kind of thing. But that, however, is not how Manson took it. So he claimed that the music was actually inciting a race war and murder, which is,
Okay.
a pretty far cry
A little far-fetched.
A little stretch.
from that. Yeah. So let's talk about the murders. So obviously there was this weird ass cult forming in the hills of California on a movie set with no books and calendars and weird people with yeast infections
Making bread.
making bread. So disgusting. So the Manson family murders are actually said, and a lot of people know this, but the Manson family murders were actually not occult in nature. In general, they were murders that were done to divert attention from earlier crimes and killings, which I did not know.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that either.
So I'm going to go through kind of those, and then we'll talk about the bigger ones, which they're all horrible. But in May of 1969, Manson actually shot a drug dealer named Bernard Latsapopa Crow.
Lots of popa.
Yeah, lots of
Poopa.
Papa
Lots of
Popa.
pooping.
I don't know.
after a dispute over a drug payment. So Bernard did not die. However, Manson was not aware that he did not die.
Oh.
So that's something to know. In July 1969, Hinman, the music teacher that Manson met right out of prison, the one that introduced him to the Beach Boys singer, was actually killed by the Manson family, or by a Manson family member named Bobby Beausoleil, I think is how you say it, at the direction of Manson. So this was after they held him hostage for 2 days and cut off his ear.
Oh my God.
So they tried to blame the crime on the Black Panthers by writing political piggy and a Black Panther symbol in blood on the wall at that murder scene.
That's so fucked up.
The murderer, Bobby, was arrested for the murder and taken into custody. Custody.
So it's not just me.
No, custody on August 6th. So this arrest actually sent Manson spiraling. So 2 days after that arrest, Manson ordered his right-hand man, Charles Tex Watson, to take 3 other family members to the Cielo Drive address and totally destroy the residence. Manson's goal was to make the killings look like the Hinman killing, right? Diverting police from the suspicion of the capture of Bobby by being like, well, Bobby's in prison, so he couldn't have done it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, August 9th, 1969, and this is really sad and rough and scary as fuck. There's actually a movie too, and I should have written it down. That's kind of recent. That kind of goes into these murders in a way. I think Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. Ooh, I'll look it up. Anyway, okay.
No idea.
August 9th, 1969, Sharon Tate, who was 26 years old and 8 months pregnant, was a Hollywood actress who was married to film director Roman Polanski and was enjoying an evening at home with friends Abigail Folger. Do we recognize that name? Abigail Folger.
Folgers.
The best part
I
of
was just
waking up.
trying to think of it to sing it.
So, I'm not going to say this name correctly. Wojciech Frykowski. Okay. And Jay Sebring. So, in true predatory fashion, the Manson family members, which included Charles Watson, Susan Atkins, Linda Cassabane, and Patricia Krenwinkel, all climbed up a brushy platform to gain entrance into this property. So just like visualize these like fucking weirdo, smelly people going up this
Right.
side of this property.
Like they just, I imagine, look just so dirty and disheveled and
Yeasty.
yeasty.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What's interesting is that yeasty. While they were trespassing, Stephen Parent, who was a visitor, he was 18, who was a visitor of the residence's caretaker, William Garrettson, was leaving the property in his vehicle when he was stopped by Watson and this group. Watson swung a knife at him and then shot him 4 times in the chest and abdomen, killing him. So, not even in the house yet, right?
Jeez.
So Watson entered the home first by cutting the screen of a window, got in, then opened the front door to let the rest in. To let in Atkins and Krenwinkel. Cassabane stayed outside at the end of the driveway to keep watch. So, basically they ambushed this party.
Yeah.
Right? So Tate and Sebring were tied together by their necks, and Folger was taken into a nearby bedroom. So Sebring was shot and stabbed 7 times. Frykowski was bound by a towel but managed to free himself. But after doing so, he became involved in a physical altercation with Atkins, resulting in her stabbing him in the legs. Frykowski continued to flee, but Watson struck him with a gun multiple times over the head, stabbed him multiple times, and killed him. So the gun grip broke off as a result of Watson striking Frykowski over the head.
Jesus.
Okay.
How terrifying is this? You're just like hanging out at a friend's house.
And everyone's
having
just
fun.
being murdered at the same time.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So Folger fled the room. She was taken to, but was chased by Krenwinkel. And she was stabbed and eventually, she was stabbed by Krenwinkel, but then eventually stabbed by Watson as well. Folger was stabbed a total of 28 times by both of those people. Meanwhile, Frykowski was struggling across the lawn, not dead yet, when Watson came to stab him again. So he was stabbed a total of 51 times. Oof. So picture the scene real quick. This is like outside. They're trying to escape, and these people... And it's really creepy, but these people were like animals.
Yeah.
Yelling and just horrible. So
like they were feral. Like it's
100%. And these people are trying to get away. So Tate witnessed the horrific crimes, was pleading with Atkins for mercy, but was rejected. So Tate was stabbed a total of 16 times, and her unborn child did not survive the incident at all either. So she was 8 months pregnant. So as they left, Atkins actually used Sharon Tate's blood to write the word pig on the front door. So now they're like taking blood from these bodies and,
It's disgusting.
So into the late night hours of that night, Tabor's neighbors. Wow. Tate's neighbors actually claimed to have heard suspected gunshots, but did not alert the authorities.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There were
really
also
smart.
reports of a man's
I mean,
screams.
it's not like they're in a neighborhood that you hear gunshots like that all the time.
and
It's not like you're.
There's pictures of like where this house was because it doesn't stand anymore. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was just like beautiful there. Like So
I feel like that's a neighborhood that you call if you hear gunshots.
sure. But it's also secluded. There's not a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we went up into the hills, and there's
No, but that's
I mean,
why
some are close, but some
it's
are not.
secluded. But that's why
Yeah.
it's like if you're hearing gunshots, that's
like,
not something that you
notify
typically
somebody.
hear. It's not like you're living in the city where it's crazy and
Yeah.
and
Unless you
never
thought it
know.
was like hunting or somebody doing a weird hunting, whatever.
Somebody
but
doing
it's the
something.
screams that I would be like, I
Yeah,
don't
like
know about that.
that's not
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, so they heard the gunshots, and then they heard reports of a man's screams coming from the residence as well. So later in the night, a private security guard hired by property owners also heard gunshots coming from the residence, and actually proceeded to call the LAPD, but they didn't show up right away. So, at all. So the following morning at 8
They didn't show up at all?
No, not from what I found. No, because they're found the next morning.
Yeah.
So the next morning, 8 a.m., the housekeeper, her name is Winifred Chapman, came into the residence and discovered the brutally murdered bodies, which, by the way, would be horrifying.
100%.
Absolutely horrifying.
It's just like it's a murder scene. Like I couldn't imagine walking in on that.
And
even if it's just one person that's alarming, but this is like numerous people.
And it is a horrible murder scene. There is blood everywhere. They had like written shit. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that they danced in it. Like it was just fucked up.
Yeah.
And there's bodies everywhere, right? Just horrible. So let's jump to the next day because they were not done. So August 10th, 1969, Manson and 6 other family members, Leslie Van Houten, Steve Grogan, Susan Atkins, which was at the previous night, Linda Casabane, also at the previous night, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Chris Watson, decided to go commit another murder. So unlike the Tate murder, though, Manson went with them. Joined into the La Bianca murder, which is the next set of people that were murdered by them, because he felt that there was not enough panic among the victims from the Tate murder.
Wait, not enough panic from the people who were getting murdered?
Apparently.
So they didn't die good enough for
or
him?
I think like in general, just like...
Or panic from not enough
the
attention.
city?
He
I don't
wanted
know.
more attention on it.
Yeah, so...
Well, it's obviously he wanted fame.
Yeah.
And he was trying to figure out how to get that in any way. So of course,
I know.
If
So
it's
although I said the name La Bianca, they drove around that day not intending to murder those specific people, but they drove around looking for their next victims. But they ended up landing on a home belonging to a successful grocery company owner, which was Lino La Bianca and his wife Rosemary. So they just like landed on that house in general. So there's several different accounts from Manson and the members that like went to do this murder. So the exact events of the murder are not totally certain, but Manson claims that he approached the home alone, then returned later with Watson. But when Watson and Manson were in the residence, they tied the couple up with a lamp cord and covered their heads with pillowcases. So Manson reassured the couple that they would not be hurt, but they were just going to be robbed. So all their cash was collected and all their shit was stolen, and Rosemary was actually taken into her bedroom. So soon after that, though, Van Houten and Krenwinkel entered the premises with the instructions from Manson to kill the couple. So right away, Watson began stabbing Lino multiple times. And then afterwards in the bedroom, Rosemary began to swing the lamp, still attached to the cord wrapped around her neck.
Gosh.
So Van Houten and Krenwinkel yelled for Watson to come help them, and then they stabbed Rosemary multiple times. Watson gave the knife to Van Houten, and she continued to stab Rosemary. Rosemary was stabbed a total of 41 times
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
by all 3 of them at
So
the same time.
unnecessary.
At the same time?
Yeah. So just horrible.
So Watson returned to the living room and continued to stab and kill Leno. So Krenwinkel carved the word war into Leno's stomach. Stabbed Leno multiple times, left a carving fork sticking out of his stomach, and left a knife sticking out of his throat.
Oh my gosh.
So he was stabbed a total of 26 times. So on the wall of the living room, or on the walls, they wrote "Death to Pigs" and "Rise" in his blood. And then on the refrigerator door, they misspelled Helter Skelter as Healter, Skelter. And it was smeared there. Yeah. So,
well, they were illiterate too.
Mm-hmm. So Frank Struthers, which was Rosemary's son from a prior marriage, returned home from a campaign trip and found it suspicious that the shades were all drawn at the home. So he also found it suspicious that Leno's speedboat was still parked in the driveway, which I guess wasn't a normal thing. So he called his sister to alert her, and then they came back to the house with her and her boyfriend, Joe Dorgan.
What was that?
That was the straw in my bottle. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, it sounded like a dog bark.
I just pulled it.
That kind of scared me too.
You're welcome.
Anyway,
it was the dog Shadow.
They're coming for us.
Dog Shadow is here. Anyway, boyfriend comes. So Dorgan and Struthers entered the home through the side door and found Leno's body. They called the LAPD. So, okay. So obviously bodies were found. It became a big thing. So let's talk about the arrest and trial in general. But there is some investigation stuff. So the LAPD arrived to kind of both, but they were not connected, right? They actually really tried to not connect them, which is really weird. So initially the Tate murder investigation, Garrettson, the home taker. So remember, there was a home, like a guy that like took care of the property in general that was there while everyone's being killed. And his friend who was visiting him is who was killed in the car. He was not killed. And so he was actually arrested.
Did he know what was happening?
No, apparently not. So he was actually arrested because he was found at the scene the next morning. Oh. But they released him after he passed a polygraph
Oh my
test.
God. Imagine getting arrested and being like,
I don't know.
I was just there. I didn't know.
I don't know. And then it says, although the LASD, which I don't know what the LASD is, but Sheriff's Department maybe, made contact with the LAPD regarding the striking similarities of the Tate and Hinman murders. Remember, Hinman was that other one that they were trying to cover up. The LAPD insisted that the Tate murder was the result of a drug transaction. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the beginning of each investigation, the interagency communication was actually lacking, which doesn't surprise me at that time. But because of this, the murder investigations led to separate dead ends initially. Luckily, the Manson family kept committing crimes, which led the investigators to connect both of the murders in general. So, physical evidence such as fingerprints and a unique .22 caliber revolver with a broken grip was found on the property near the Tate residence. That was the one that they were hitting. Yeah. And so the property owner, Bernard Weiss, because this was rented by them, turned the weapon over to the LAPD months prior to them making the connection, but it helped in it. So upon reading the case and the detail of the broken grip in the Los Angeles Times, he contacted the LAPD and gave them that. And so the LAPD found the weapon and evidence and connected the gun to the Tate murders. So the LAPD issued an arrest warrant for Watson, Casabane, and Krenwinkel for their involvement in the Tate murders and their involvement in the LaBianca murders as well. And so Watson and Krenwinkel were apprehended in different states. In Casabane, which is the one that was waiting, like standing guard at the gate, voluntarily yielded when she discovered the warrant for her arrest. So warrants were not made for Manson or Atkins at the time, they were involved in the LaBianca, I believe, or maybe it was both, because they were already in custody for unrelated crimes occurring at the ranches in Death Valley. So there was a lot of crime happening. So people were arrested in connection with stuff that was happening at the Gross Yeast Field Ranch. So, okay, I want to talk about motive because I think this is really weird. Manson's philosophy of the upcoming apocalypse was the true motive behind the killings. So he told his family that Helter Skelter was coming. According to Manson, Helter Skelter was the uprising of a racial war between blackies and whiteys. Which is like, oh my God. He would gain from the racial war by hiding himself and his family in a cave located in Death Valley until the war ended. And so he would facilitate this war by killing whiteys and implicating the African American community with various acts such as disposing of the victims' wallets in an area highly populated by African American residents, which is like...
What
So you're trying to point it on other people, but you're doing a really shitty job at that.
Yeah, but it's also like, what? Like, yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's just stupidity. It's all fucking stupid.
So, trial. So on June 15th of 1970, the Tate Bianca trial against Manson, Watson, Atkins, and Krenwickel began for 7 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy. Van Houten was charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy. Casabane, in exchange for immunity, which is interesting, testified for the prosecution to explain the events that occurred during each vicious crime. So Atkins had originally agreed to testify but retracted her statement. At the beginning of the trial, Manson was permitted by the court to act as his own attorney. However, after several violations of conduct, obviously, permission to represent himself was withdrawn. So as a result, Manson carved an X on his forehead in objection to the withdrawal permission. Yep. Okay. So you can see pictures of him at the beginning, nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this gross X in his forehead.
Disgusting.
So fucking stupid.
Nasty.
It's
fuck.
all stupid.
Yeah. So after a month, the jury was selected. Linda Casabane was called by Bugliosis to the stand following an objection by Karnick that she was incompetent and insane. With the objection overruled, Casabane was sworn in as a witness. She was on the stand for a total of 18 days,
Oh, wow.
7 of which were for cross-examination, which is crazy.
Well, I'm sure they went in.
Yeah. So Manson disrupted her testimony by revealing the newspaper headline, "Manson guilty, Nixon declares." The defense attempted to use this as a prejudice to move for a mistrial. The request was denied by the jury, and as the jury had sworn to the judge that they would not be influenced by the president's declaration, which I think is interesting that the president of the United States weighed in on that trial.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
weird.
No. So basically, there was, I guess, a newspaper headline that came out that said Manson was guilty, and President Nixon at the time declared that. So the defense used that headline to show prejudice and that they should have a mistrial because that would influence the jury, which I get. But
Yeah, but if there's so much other proof that
Yeah.
they did it, like
Yeah.
that's...
I know.
I like
So-
how it was just like, do you promise that you won't let this influence you?
Like,
It's
okay.
like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like I'll use all the fucking murdery photos and
Right.
yeah. So Manson's influence on the prosecution's witness was becoming evident during the trial. So, for example, prosecution witness Barbara Hoyt was lured by a Manson family member to Hawaii and was given lethal doses of LSD. Luckily, Hoyt was able to reach the hospital before any fatal events could occur. So another witness that was threatened was Paul Watkins. Watkins was severely burned in a suspicious fire in his van. So these fucking people were crazy.
Oh, now you're just realizing
I
that?
know. So furthermore, Van Houten's attorney, however you say his name, Ronald Hughes, failed to appear in court when he refused to allow his client to testify. He stated that he refused to push a client out the window. Hughes' body was discovered after the trial ended and his death was rumored to be ordered by the Manson family.
Well, wouldn't be surprised.
Y'all. So then I put in here weird ass shit. So Manson aggressively vocalized his views and opinions regarding the testimonies and statements made by the prosecution. A memorable moment occurred when Manson and the judge fell into a disagreement, resulting in Manson physically throwing himself at the judge, exclaiming, "Someone should cut your head off."
Okay.
Soon after, the Manson family women started to chant in Latin in support of Manson's outburst in the courtroom.
That's a really great way to implicate yourself.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, trial over, you're guilty.
Yeah.
All you were fucking crazy. Yeah. So the prosecution finished their case, turning the attention to the defense team. So to everyone's surprise, the defense declared that it rested their case.
Okay.
As a result, the women began protesting that they wanted to testify. All attorneys were called to
The
chambers.
defense attorneys were like, we're tired.
Like,
We're
what
done.
the fuck is this crazy fucking shit show?
Right.
So the defense team strongly opposed the testimony of their clients because they felt that the women were still under the influence of Manson and would testify that they were the sole perpetrators involved in the crime, which they originally did, by the way.
So Judge Older declared...
what a male thing to have women do.
Literally, he studied trying to control women. Yeah. So Judge Older declared that the right to testify took precedence over the attorney's objections, which I get. When Adkins took the stand for her testimony, her attorney refused to question her. This is the defense. So Manson took the stand the next day and testified for over an hour in regards to the case. The jury was excused during this time to prevent evidence incriminating co-defendants to prejudice the jury, which is interesting. So Watson was tried in August of 1971 and found guilty of 7 counts of murder and 1 count of conspiracy, who was like one of the original dudes. So the verdict. So the jury took a week to deliberate and came to a verdict of guilty for all charges of murder and conspiracy for all defendants. During the penalty phase of the trial, the jury actually declared for the death penalty, but pursuant
for
all of them. So pursuant to California Supreme Court ruling in 1972, the death penalty for all defendants were commuted to life in prison because California doesn't have death penalty. So anymore. So, okay, here's some current updates. Kind of current, but you know.
This was also the summer of 69.
Yeah.
So
Manson was
relatively
imprisoned.
current.
Yeah. Manson was imprisoned in California Corcoran's state prison. He was denied parole each time a hearing came up, a total of 12 times. On January 1st of 2017, Manson was taken to the hospital and was found to be suffering from gastrointestinal bleeding.
Oh, too bad for you.
While still very ill. While still very ill, he was returned to prison on November 15th of that same year. He was taken back to the hospital. Just 4 days later, while still in the hospital, he died from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure and colon cancer.
Darn.
He was 83. That motherfucker lived till 83.
Yeah, and these other people didn't get to live their lives.
So, Susan Atkins was serving her life sentence at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla, California, until her death on September 24th of 2009. She died at 61.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Patricia.
She was young, though, 61.
Yeah. Patricia Kenwinkle is serving her life sentence at the California Institution for Women in Chino, California. And then as of 2017, she has been denied parole a total of 14 times. Leslie,
At that point, why bother even trying to?
Right. Jesus. Leslie Van Houten is currently housed in the California Institution for Women in Fonterra, California. As of 2018, she has been denied parole a total of 21 times. Charles Tex Watson, that one that got in 1971, is currently serving his life sentence at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, California. And Bobby Bosalai, who is the one that murdered one of the first ones that they were trying to cover up, began serving his 30-plus years in prison in 1970. He is currently housed at the California Medical Facility in Vacaville, California. Steve Grogan was paroled in 1985. I don't know who Steve Grogan is, so I probably should have taken that one out. But I feel like maybe but yep, they did something. So Linda Casabane was granted immunity for being the key witness for the prosecution and left California after the trial. That's it. And what's interesting is the Tate residence, so the house that they rented, was actually demolished and a new mansion has been built on the property. The home remains vacant, though.
Yeah, who's gonna
I
move
would
in
not
there?
want to. Yeah, no.
And then the La Bianca house is a private residence and was offered for sale in 2019, which is interesting.
That's so crazy.
There's a couple of additional notes that I have in here, and I want to dive into the victims a little bit because they were
It's important.
humans, and like really, it seems like great people. So Manson, I think this is really interesting. His explanation for the murders was simple and really bizarre. He said, "It's the Beatles, the music they're putting out." Manson, who
I just don't get the correlation between
nobody does.
Between the Beatles and the Black
Nobody
Panthers and like I don't.
No, he was a severe white supremacist and racist. He thought that there was going to be, or he wanted there to be a race war between white people and black people, and thus used this to like start this revolution that he think was going to happen. So anyway, he said it's the Beatles, their music they're putting out. So he said these kids listen to this music and pick up the message. It's subliminal. It's not my music. I hear what it relates. It says rise. It says kill. Why blame it on me? I didn't write the music. That's what he said. Okay, crazy.
Wow.
But I'm pretty sure you're the one interpreting it that way.
Like, okay. Okay, so here's the victims. So one of the first was the LA drug dealer who threatened to wipe out the Manson family after Tex Watson defrauded him. In response, Manson went to Crow's apartment on July 1st, 1969 and shot him. Manson believed that he was dead, but he survived, but never reported the shooting to police. So prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi tracked him down, however, and he actually testified at Manson's trial, which according to Bugliosi was the first time Manson realized that he was still alive. So he like walks into the courtroom and he's like, I thought I killed your ass.
Drama.
But yeah. So Gary Hinman was born in Colorado. Oh, that's where I'm from. And Hinman was a Buddhist music teacher, pursuing a doctorate in sociology at UCLA when he became roommates with Bobby Bustalai, whatever. The two met Charles Manson in 1969, and Bustaloi, whatever his name is, became the primary perpetrator of Manson's orders to attack Hinman in July 1969. It was his fucking roommate. So the Manson family inexplicably believed Hinman
that's
had
a hard
come.
word.
It was. Words are hard. Come into a large sum of money. In fact, at the time of his death at the age of 33, he reportedly had just $50 in his bank account. So then this takes us to the Tate home murders. So Abigail Folger, she was a 26-year-old heiress of the Folger's coffee fortune. Folger hadn't simply rested in the lap of her luxury, though. She graduated from Harvard with a master's degree in art history and worked for a time at a Berkeley art museum before moving to LA in 1968. Once there, she threw herself into activism, doing volunteer social work for an urban welfare program and working for a racially charged city council campaign. She and her boyfriend, who was also killed, the Fryowski, spent most of the spring and summer of 1969 house sitting for Roman Polanski and his wife Sharon Tate at that home. So even though Tate returned from overseas work at the end of the summer, Polanski invited Folger and Fryowski to keep living there through August. So they were all hanging out in the house together on the night of August 8th, 1969, which is really sad.
It's very sad.
So her boyfriend, Frykowski, grew up in Poland and studied chemistry. He became bar buddies with Roman Polanski while hanging around film studios where he was from. So he worked as a lifeguard on Polanski's first film, Knife in the Water, and ultimately moved to California where he met his girlfriend, Abigail Folger. In Polanski's autobiography, Roman by Polanski, the filmmaker reportedly described Frykowski as good-natured, soft-hearted, to the point of sentimentality, and utterly loyal. He was 33 when he was killed. Stephen Parent, who was the 18-year-old, graduated from high school 2 months before his death at that residence. He was a native of Los Angeles, loved music and playing the guitar. He was working 2 jobs over that summer to pay for his enrollment in community college for the fall to supplement his income. He tried to sell smart electronics and mechanical devices to friends, including his friend William Garrettson, who worked as the caretaker at that address. So he visited him that night in order to try to sell him a small clock. Through total bad luck, he was driving out of the gated residence at the moment that they were entering, and they killed him, which is like...
So upsetting.
Yeah. So Jay Sebring, also at the residence, was from Birmingham, Alabama, native and a Korean War Navy vet. He became a celebrity hairstylist during the 60s by importing many European fashion trends to Los Angeles. Tricks like, so he was the makeup artist for, stylist. He was her stylist. So anyway, his salon grew into an international hair company before his death. And then through the mid 60s, he and Sharon Tate were extremely close, first dating and then remaining best friends. Sebring was 35 when he was killed. Sharon, so she was a Texas pageant girl and army brat. Which I always think it's weird to call people army brats, but Tate broke into acting while attending high school in Italy, which I thought was really interesting.
Very interesting.
She'd already made a name for herself as a fashion model and comedic actress by the time she married Roman Polanski in January of 1968.
They were not married for very long. It's like a year and a half, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah. So now cult classic 1967's Valley of the Dolls established a typical media response to her performances, which tended to fixate on her sex appeal while mocking her acting ability. Still, Tate's role in the film garnered her a Golden Globe nom, which is really interesting. And Polanski always believed in her talent. A short film made about her in 1965 described her as today's kind of girl, bursting with youth, beauty, vitality, and hope. She was 26 and pregnant when she died. And then the 2 others, Lino and Rosemary. So Lino was the son of Italian immigrants. You might be related. LaBianca was a brilliant student who married his high school sweetheart before serving in Europe during World War II and becoming a sergeant first class in the Army Reserve thereafter. Though he fathered 3 kids, his first marriage disintegrated after the war. In 1959, he married again in a Vegas wedding to Rosemary. And though her kids lived with them in their house on Waverly Drive, the children were with friends and out of town the weekend of the murders. So Leno Bianco died alongside his wife on August 10th, 1969, just days after his 44th birthday. And Rosemary grew up in Arizona and moved to Los Angeles sometime in the 40s during her late teens. Her first marriage resulted in 2 children, but ended up in divorce, and she turned her attention to business. On the profits of a mobile dress shop she invented, which is pretty cool, she became a self-made millionaire and a wealthy investor on her own work. In 1959, she married Leno, and in 1968, the pair moved into his childhood home on Waverly Drive. In what was intended to be a temporary living arrangement, she was killed by them, the Manson family, at the same time. She was 40. So, I know.
So awful.
I know.
They all seem like such good people.
I know.
I know.
Just
So-
to be murdered
Just
by
to be
these
murdered.
psychotic
Yeah.
people who don't really have any reason to be killing anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. When I titled this one, they killed a lot more people, but I titled this one, 7 murders by a group of feckin' culty psychos, because the Tate, between those 2 days, it was 7. So, but it was more,
Yeah.
which is just awful. Yeah. So this one was like, we were talking about group murders, and I was like,
No.
I saw something on this one not that long ago, and I was like, that just feels so complicated. And
No.
it was.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard the story before, but a lot of it I just don't remember.
Yeah.
It's awful.
A lot of it I didn't even know, though. Like, it didn't, people don't talk too much about the victims
Yeah.
in general. People focus really heavily on the murderer, and I get it.
Well, and especially in
But-
this instance, because the murder is so unbelievable.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's a horror story. It's
an absolute horror story.
It's
and
terrifying.
It's why I don't love to watch things like The Strangers and stuff like that, which are great films.
Oh my God.
I
Literally
can't
my
watch
worst
them.
nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's
I can't watch
terrifying.
them. Yeah, they freak me out.
Yeah.
And because they're too
because it
real.
could just happen
They
Yeah.
can
for
happen.
no rhyme or
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And just imagine all of a sudden people are just in your home.
Yeah.
That was so when I was like in 5th grade, I never slept because I was convinced that type of thing was going to happen to
In
me and my
7th
family.
grade?
Actually, 5th.
Oh,
Yeah.
in 5th grade? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
And I had never seen The Strangers or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
just had convinced myself
That
that
something
was
was
going to
gonna
happen.
happen.
Like some
That's
random
terrifying.
stranger was going to come in and just
Well,
murder
I
my
mean,
whole
did
family.
it?
me too.
And they didn't. Thank
No,
God.
you're here with us. Thank you.
Thanks for not doing that, everyone.
Yeah, no, these things are just absolutely terrifying, and I could
Yeah.
only imagine how all of them, in their lives, they had gone through so
And like
much, and it's just like I
those
don't-
moments as your last moments is horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't understand cult mentality at
No.
all. I do
No.
not get it.
I don't understand how you would kill for somebody else's.
Yeah, you would never convince. Like, I am not people can't convince me in general. Just I think about a lot, but I would never be able to like get on board with killing people. Like, I just wouldn't.
No.
So
Well, thank God for that.
yeah, thank you, thank you for choosing to not do those things. So, anyway, that's that. That's episode 21. We're back,
We're back.
and those were a little intense.
Yeah, that was an intense
Yeah.
one.
It was intense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad that we are back in the swing of it.
back telling
missed
stories, telling murder stories for your lovely road trips.
You're
Yes, for your
welcome,
enjoyment.
everybody.
You're welcome. Yeah. So yeah, if you love our content and want to see more, please give us a thumbs up to this video on YouTube, or rate and review, or comment on Spotify. Yes, thank you. And subscribe.
Yeah.
We would love your ears
Yes, your patronage.
and
Your
eyes,
ears
and
and
we
your
promise
onions.
not to cut them like these fucking weirdos
No.
did to their
And we'll never
Jesus
give you bread
Christ.
with human yeast.
Oh my God.
I'm never going to. Why do I exist? These
I
are
don't know.
awful things. My mind. Oh God.
Disgusting.
Oh well. Anyway, Anna, so great to have you back.
So great to be back.
Thank you for pausing for a hot minute because we couldn't get our shit together, but we're back. Thank you.
But our shit is together, at least in this moment, right
Yeah.
here and now.
And that's all that matters.
Yes, yes. So
All the stars
everyone,
aligned.
please go register to vote. And
Yes.
as we said, look up Project 2025. Do your research.
Yes.
And
And even the whatever 40 whatever that Trump has
What?
his projected plan, because
So many numbers.
he's not part of Project 2025, quote unquote. But
Okay.
he has his own agenda on his website. Look that up too, because there's some weird ass shit there too. So
Yeah,
just be
if
cognizant
you-
of just what's going on.
If you want to have a country that is just completely and utterly led by Jesus and God,
Fascism.
yeah, I don't know. Go look it up, because if you think that this will not impact you, oh honey, it will.
It will, or it'll impact somebody that you love. And
Yeah. So just please vote. And I'm not ashamed to say go vote for Democrats. Go vote blue, so we can get this weird ass fucking crazy shit out of here. Okay. And on that note, thanks so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.